Fucking guy. Look at this guy.
I think this is a Hellcat Durango. Yep. Monor. Oh, he's got the red eye hood. It looks like it's a red eye hood, but I don't think it's a red eye, but it's so hard to tell. They didn't even give it like a special badge so you know it's a red eye. Fucking Dodge. That's why they're fucked. Yeah, these guys are done, man. This guy right here has a silver EQE 350. It's a nice car, but it's so small compared to the EQS. And the EQS is so small compared to that S-Class, you know? It's a nice color. It's like a silvery blue. Yeah. Yeah, not bad. Look at that guy. American Military News mentioned this. Mortgage rates have hit 8%, a first since 2001. Now, one thing that people need to understand is the interest rate is not the problem. The problem is the house value. You see, it was there were people who had 19, 20% interest rates back, during the 80s, 90s, and whatnot. But the values on the properties were so much lower. You believe me, you would rather be paying an 8% on $100,000 or $150,000 house than you would paying 8% on a $500,000 house. But that same house that used to be $100,000 is now $500,000. That's the problem. It's not the interest rate, it's the loan value. The same thing applies for cars. It's not the interest rate, it's the loan value. If these cars are being propped up with these ridiculous markups and whatnot, now you have a problem, because even though there's a few choices out there, you're going to pay so much more on interest that every single month your monthly payments are going to be 2 or 3 times what they should have been just prior to COVID. Says the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate touched 8% on Thursday, according to Bankrate. It's a level not seen since 2000. Over the past several weeks, the 30-year rate has been on the cusp of 8%, backed off, then picked up steam again. Let me keep going. Why are mortgage rates so high? It says there are several variables that have prompted the 30 years rate march towards 8%. The 10-year Treasury yield, the rates on fixed rate mortgages are tied to the yield on 10-year Treasury notes. When this bond yield goes up, so do mortgage rates with a margin. Okay, that's one thing. Where's the okay? The Federal Reserve, which I keep railing against Jerome Powell, says the Federal Reserve sets the federal funds rate, the rate at which banks loan to each other overnight to maintain Fed Reserve requirements. While this rate isn't directly linked to the 30-year mortgage, when the Fed raises it, borrowing costs across the board rise. Okay, inflation. Inflation can buffet mortgage rates up or down, and lately it's the latter. Inflation is basically a hidden tax against your money. When the bank is taking your money, but the government is printing more money, what they're ultimately doing is they're lowering the value of your money. So inflation is ultimately, it's basically when prices go up because the value of your money is going down. And that's happening because the banks are printing more money. Well, after all, Ukraine and Israel need as much as they can get, right? It's time to give them blank checks. They need $500 billion each, right? In order to beat Putin and in order to secure democracy, right? Well, I hope you're ready to suffer for it, because the simple fact is, while bank is up there printing all that money to send over to Israel and Ukraine, value your money's going down. So I hope you're ready to sacrifice, because I'm not. So anyway, where are we? Typically, when global events are uncertain and tumultuous, as what's taking place in the Middle East, money flows into bonds and rates are beneficiary. I've noticed that the price of gold is right below $2,000. It went up past $2,000, but then it backed off. It's like, I think a lot of people who bought gold a long time ago, they keep taking profits and they keep dropping the price, I guess. It says, of course, some borrowers were already receiving rates above 8%, depending on factors like how shitty their credit was and what their finances look like. It says, as of Thursday morning, Bank of America, PennyMac, Rocket Mortgage, and others were advertising APRs higher than 8%, some even over 8.5%. Americans recently cited high mortgage rates rather than high home prices as the number one reason to hold off on buying a home. And yeah, that is true. Now, my problem is, if you buy a home at the top of the market and the value of that home is listed at $500,000, but that house is only worth $200,000, i.e., one of my properties, for example, is listed above $500,000, but I paid less than $300,000 for it. Now, I think the problem there is, even if you had a low interest rate like 1%, you're still overpaying on this house because its value is probably not going to appreciate that much more, not unless the entire area appreciates considerably. Now, here in New York, it's an interesting situation. They're gentrifying and they're building up a lot of these old beat down, rundown neighborhoods. Like, there's a lot of these buildings that they just tear down and then they want to build up the neighborhood. That causes all the values in the area to rise up. That's also happening in most major cities. But the issue is the rural and the suburban areas don't always act like that. And they're not really being gentrified for the most part right now, not unless they're, in fucked up crime-ridden cities. So my issue ultimately is, if you're buying a house at the top of the market or near the top of the market, there's really not much room for it to appreciate. You're not going to get much equity out of that. I have a problem with that. It was so much better prior to COVID when house values were relatively reasonable. 2018 specifically, 2017, 16, right after the economic crash of 2008, if you had bought a house in 2009, 2010, chances are after the bubble popped, you probably would have been able to get something reasonable. But here in New York, we haven't seen reasonable since like 2002. So honestly, it's like buying at the top of the market. I don't recommend it because the way it's supposed to work is you're supposed to buy low and sell high. Me personally, I don't like selling. I'd rather rent it out while I'm chilling in the beach in Philippines or chilling in Thailand. I'll let somebody rent out my property and their rent goes to put more buco juice in my young foreign wife's hand so that she can, feed that to me and rub my body down with coconut oil. So that's my plan for retirement. Now, I don't know what yours is, but a lot of you are about to get your jobs taken by these goddamn robots and this AI, which coincidentally happens to be the thing that we're talking about investing in. So here's a story that's related to the stocks that are currently moving. The American semiconductor boom faces a massive obstacle, a lack of immigrants. The U.S. is experiencing a boom in semiconductor production after the passage of the CHIPS Act. This is the thing that I told you. This is the reason why I made a video. I said you need to bet on chips because I saw what Nancy Pelosi was doing with NVIDIA specifically, and I also saw what they were planning to do with Micron, and that's why I told y'all to bet on these chips. And sure enough, all of these things blew up. I think it was like less than 2 months later. But anyway, according to a July report from the Semiconductor Industry Association and Industry Trade Group and Oxford Economics, there will be 85,000 new technical jobs in the industry by 2030. But the report's projections indicate that nearly 80% of those jobs could go unfulfilled. And crucially, 1/3 of the semiconductor industry workforce is foreign born, meaning that immigration hurdles are exacerbating the shortage. In July, Taiwan's TSM, I also told you to invest in that, which was scheduled to open its first plant in Arizona in 2024, announced that the semiconductor behemoth would be delayed another year due to shortage of specialist workers. While we are working to improve the situation, including sending experienced technicians from Taiwan to train the local skilled workers for a short period of time, we expect the production schedule of N4 process technology to be pushed out to 2025. And this was said by Mark Liu, the TSMC chairman. Many foreign-born skilled workers are already studying in the U.S., but current immigration laws make it difficult for them to stay. It's incredibly, incredibly hard to imagine that we're going to be able to build the semiconductor industry in the future if we don't reform our immigration law. This was said by Todd Schultz, president of Immigration and Criminal Justice Reform Advocacy organization, whatever. It says a new analysis by FWD found that about 5,000 international students in the U.S. will graduate in the next academic year with advanced degrees in semiconductor-related computer science and engineering fields. At least 4,000 of those students have expressed interest in staying in the U.S. So 4 out of 5, basically. 4 out of 5 students want to stay here. The rest want to leave. If you need to build these semiconductor fabs, you need a particular set of workers, Schultz said. You can have that in the United States or you can have that in other places here. The idea that jobs are a fixed entity, that if they don't exist for one person, they'll exist for someone else, it just isn't true. I think you're seeing that, he continued. You've seen chip manufacturers saying, we need this workforce. We want to build in the United States for a lot of reasons here, but we need an immigration system that isn't built from the middle of the 20th century, meaning an immigration system that allows our country to respond to the economic needs in the middle of the 21st century. So bottom line is, and I've been saying this for a long time because I pretty much saw which way the technology was moving. The bottom line is, if you're planning on investing money, you need to be getting in on these chip stocks one way or another. Now, as you remember, long time ago, I think we're going on like damn near 3 years, I came up with my own index, even though I'd already owned stock in them, but I came up with an index. I called it Mangoat. Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, Google, Amazon, oil stocks with dividends and gas stocks with dividends, and then Tesla, right? Now, I don't care what the market looks like right now because we've seen these downturns. We've seen recession. We've seen this before. And then what we've also seen is we've seen the bounce back from these things. Now, assuming there's no like nuclear war or anything or total devastation, technology as a sector is going to come back. But there are some issues that are producing problems for this current market to come back. Number one is the high interest rates put forth by Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve. The bottom line is, if people can't use their credit cards to buy stuff, then, they're not buying stuff. It's just that simple. So that has sent basically recession across the board because every single business is experiencing less shoppers, less shopping, and they're being forced to lay off workers. everything, including automotives, the housing market. And the housing market and automotives are the most important because those are the two main things that the average American is going to invest in. A house is number one because they have to have some place to live, or housing. Number two is their car or vehicle because they have to have some way to get back and forth to work. So those are going to usually be the most important investments that there are. So for that and that alone, buying auto stocks makes sense. Also, I mean, he's got these people with these REITs, these real estate investment trusts. I mean, if they pay a dividend, maybe it's worth buying. Like, some people have negative feelings about buying into like BlackRock and whatnot, which I totally understand. I have negative feelings about Zuckerberg and Facebook, but some people have negative feelings about financing the gentrification or the destruction of others, which is why some people don't like military industrial complex and investment. They don't want to buy into Lockheed Martin. They don't want to buy into Raytheon. I totally understand that. All I'm saying is you need to get it in these goddamn chips. And the bottom line is the thing you got to remember, like right here, Taiwan Semiconductor, 1724 per share. Taiwan Semiconductor, 91.31. AMD, 101. I was telling you about AMD when it was $50. I'm never going to let that go. Intel is still undervalued. Intel is around $34. It hasn't really dipped too much further than that. Who else? But the big winners, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, right now they're suffering from the fact that they can't get people to go out and spend this money on these credit cards. So, there's only but so many Xboxes you can sell. There's only but so many laptops that Microsoft can sell, or Chromebooks, or whatever it is. There's only but so many MacBooks that Apple can sell, Apple Watches, iPhones. And iPhone 15 has been having a lot of problems, which I'm very glad I skipped this year because I knew there was going to be problems with it. I'm almost starting to think that, it may have been sabotaged by the fact that China knew that Apple was pulling their business out and they were taking it over to India. But that's just a conspiracy theory I can't prove. So the bottom line is, where are you going to put your money? Now, I was fortunate enough to buy NVIDIA when it was cheap. And I got Microsoft, Apple, and a couple others. I got them while they were really cheap. There are other investment strategies that are still out there. There are some shares that you can purchase cheap. The way I feel about it is it's easiest, depending upon who you are and how much money you make, it's easiest to invest in $1,000 blocks. Like when you buy into any company, you drop $1,000 into that company, you sit back and wait and see what happens over the next couple of years. That's always worked for me. Now, I'm not saying that your strategy has to be the same as mine. I'm just saying it works for me. But the thing about it is I was able to leverage YouTube money rather than my own personal income. So this way, it was basically, disposable income that was leveraged against the stock market. And I just so happened to win. But the bottom line is I'm focusing on retirement. You see, when all of these jobs get taken by these robots and AI in 10 years, I intend to be on a beach with a wife, a young, beautiful foreign wife, and she's just going to be feeding me buko juice and coconut oil and all that stuff. And I'm going to be watching America on television, and I'm going to be on a beach somewhere. It might be Thailand, it might be the Philippines, I don't know. It might be Cape Verde, I don't know. Bottom line is they're going to have a very, very low exchange rate when it comes to the US dollar. So I'm going to have my pension coming in. I'm going to have my dividend paying stocks coming in, giving me those dividends every single month, basically. And I'm just going to be living large. Now, meanwhile, most of y'all here in America, you're not even going to be able to afford a house. You're not going to be able to afford an apartment. You're going to probably have to turn to the government welfare in order to help you out and everything. I don't intend to have to deal with any of that bullshit. You see, I was lucky enough to be born in the 80s before they tried to ruin this country. And I'm fortunate enough that even though it's circling the drain right now, I'm on my way out. So the bottom line is I'm focusing on how do I leverage my money against a future that is uncertain, that a lot of people are going to have a lot of problems in. Knowing where this is going, I've chosen the tech sector, the energy sector, and the banking sector, including credit cards, in order to make sure that my dividends are solid. And you're going to have to probably try to figure out something too. Some people want to invest in other things. That's fine by me. I've always focused on, factories, specifically the automotive industry, because for the most part, they've proven that they're recession proof. But you're going to have to figure it out because things are about to get rough. Well, we can honestly look at the market as it is right now, and we can tell that definitely, regardless what Biden says, we are definitely in recession. Not only that, I insist that we've been in stagflation for some time. The government refuses to say anything about it. They refuse to tell the truth, specifically because the word stagflation also implies that the government itself has had poor policies, which basically prolonged a recession. So when I'm talking about poor policies, you may have noticed mortgage rates are currently at about 8%. If you try to buy a new car, you're facing nothing less than 8% or above. There are some car dealerships that what they're willing to do is they're willing to sell you used cars at like a 3.5% just to get them off their lots. They're willing to try to make negotiations on lease deals and whatnot. But for the most part, anything that requires you to take out a loan, most people just aren't doing it. They can't afford it. There's a credit crunch of sorts, something similar to what we saw in 2008 and 2009. There was a bailout back in 2009 done by Obama, half by Obama, half by the Congress before him. And they had to do that basically to force the banks to actually be willing to lend out money. But at this point, yeah, the banks are willing to lend out money. The problem is the interest rates are so ridiculously high that nobody wants to take out the debt. Because it's one thing for you to say, yeah, we'll give you a 3% on this ridiculous loan. But it's another thing for you to say, yeah, we'll give you the money, but it's going to cost you 8%. That's a totally different story because now it's going to cost you twice as much per month. And that becomes untenable for most people. Now, me personally, you've probably noticed I haven't been making as many videos. I've been very, very busy. First of all, it was a very busy, expensive month because I did invest. For instance, today is October 21st, 2023. YouTubers got paid today. Now, I don't know if all YouTubers get paid on the exact same day, but I know I got paid today. I spent $1,500 on GM stock. As you know, GM's down since the Russian-Ukraine war kicked off. It was about $60, but the thing about it is GM right now is it's under $30, right? Now, they have a 1.22% yield. So just like Ford and Stellantis, I own over 1,000 shares of Ford, Stellantis, and what's that other one? Ford, Stellantis. With GM, I'm trying to build myself up to that much. But see, I bought Ford. You got to understand, I bought Ford back in 2009. Oh, yeah, when we had the bailout. I bought Ford then, and it was easy to drop $2,000 into Ford because back then the stock was like less than $1.80. And then I kept buying more when we had the crash 2020. And I knew that I wanted to keep Ford because I knew that they, traditionally they paid a dividend. Same thing goes for Stellantis, which I didn't buy as Stellantis. I bought it when it was called FCA. Because as you remember, they were bought by Fiat Chrysler. That's before Stellantis, the Dutch, the Netherlands, they bought them. And I just got to say, I am fucking absolutely done with Chrysler. And I've already said this, that I'm done with Chrysler Dodge. And you've watched my channel for a long time. You know I've owned like 6 of their cars. And those are the ones you know about. You don't know about the ones that I sold over to my friends in Dubai in order to flip them. But the bottom line is, I'm done with them. Their service under Stellantis is horrible. I feel really bad for any of you who are currently going and trying to buy these goddamn Dodge Chargers and these Challengers. I feel really bad for you. When it comes time, and this is probably going to be your daily driver, when it comes time for that car to go into service and they don't give you a loaner and all they do at this point, I'm fairly certain they must have had a meeting and they said, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to give these people an Uber home, and when their car's ready, we'll come pick them up. But that doesn't take care of you in the amount of time that you have to drive back and forth to work. So what they're going to tell you, oh yeah, well, if you have Chrysler Max Care, you can rent a car. And if you rent that car, oh, well, we'll pay 30% of the cost of the rental car under the Max Care warranty. Here's the problem. It takes you like 5 to 6 months to get that money back. And that 30% really ain't that much. And it also depends on how long they have your car. With the UAW strike currently on, you face a situation where they may not even be able to get the parts and they may leave you hanging with no car. So what I'm saying is I'm done with that company. And believe me when I say this, I can go to Mercedes, I can go to BMW. BMW, I've been showing you in my community chat the lease specials that they have on, for instance, Lucid had a lease special on the Lucid Air. Mercedes had a lease special on the EQE. BMW had a lease special on the iX. And I could pay less money than it cost me when I was paying for my Jeep. I could pay, $300 less per month and get an iX and then not have to worry about paying gas. I could pay $300 less per month and get the Lucid Air and not have to worry about paying gas. I could pay $300 less per month and get an EQE or an EQS used. I wouldn't buy an EQS new. I would buy an EQE new, but I wouldn't buy an EQS new because I'm not paying over $100,000 for one of these cars. These cars are, as far as I'm concerned, all of them have been marked up. I don't pay markups. I'm not doing it. I didn't do it when I bought my Hellcat. I didn't do it when I bought my Jeep. I'm not paying markups on anything, and that's just the bottom line. So I've been very patient. As you know, I'm still waiting for my Cadillac. They told me 1 week ago it was going to take 3 weeks, so it looks like I have about a little less than about 2 weeks left. And it looks like they finally started shipping the level 2s and the level 3s. The level 1s are the ones that you see constantly right now. If you see somebody driving a Lyric, chances are it's a level 1 or a debut edition. Those were the ones that aren't fully equipped. My car is fully equipped. My car is stickered at $78,000. I'm getting a $5,000 GM discount, and then there's the $7,500 government tax credit. Now, they're saying that the government tax credits next year are going to be applied directly at the point of sale because I guess the government, I don't know what it is, but I don't think they want to, people don't want to have to wait till they do their taxes to try to get a damn rebate. They want that shit now. And also, taking $7,500 off the sticker helps to sell the car at that point of sale. The problem is most of these dealers are horrible and unscrupulous. And what they'll do is if they know that the government's got a $7,500 tax credit on all the cars that they're selling, the electric cars, they'll just raise the price $7,500. These people are, it's just sad. It's just really sad. So anyway, I had a very expensive week for GM. I dropped $1,500 on GM shares. Now, it may go down a little bit, but I'm not really worried about GM going down too far. And I'm pretty sure that in the long term, I'm pretty sure GM's going to rise right back just like they did. Now, when I say long term, it could be 4 or 5 years. So I'm willing to wait. Ford, I bought some more shares in Ford just to top off and to continue to build. Ford pays a 5.11% yield. So those dividends that come in, those are really good when they come in. I also bought a little bit more Stellantis, and that's 7.52% because they have the highest dividend yield. And Stellantis, I'm pretty sure within about 5 years, they're going to get rid of Jeep because they're not going to be profitable with these stupid electric cars. Nobody who buys Dodge wants a fucking electric car. Now, a Jeep, they can sell the 4xEs. People will buy those. That's different. A Wrangler 4xE and a Grand Cherokee 4xE, that's totally different. That's not the same thing as buying a Dodge. Dodge V8s were all they had keeping them alive. Now they don't have them. So it is what it is. Now, I know somebody's going to say, oh, yeah, well, why don't you talk about cryptocurrency? Well, your XRP is still down. It's still down from even the day that XRP was said to have half won that split decision. But the thing about it is Bitcoin has been driven up a little bit, but I believe that it's a trap. I'm fairly certain. Give me, say, 1 month, and I guarantee you'll be right back down to like 28,000 or less, maybe even 27,000. Give it about 1 month. I'm still waiting for the $100,000 Bitcoin. I'm still waiting for the $1 million Bitcoin. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen ever. It's not going to happen. I told y'all, and y'all know this, because you listen if you listen. I told y'all to get Micron when it was back below $60. Micron is almost $70. It's 67 right now. It was 70 something, but it fell down a little bit shortly around the time that you had this Israel-Palestine fight, the battle to the end of the the last man. So anyway, you've got Intel down. Intel is also undervalued. Intel, as you know, Intel Corporation is actually based in Israel, so that's part of the reason why it's down. AMD, I've been telling y'all since it was $50. I was like, yo, AMD is undervalued. Get yourself AMD. Get yourself AMD. I've been saying it. Google, Amazon, my man goat strategy. All of these things are in the red now, yes, but that's only because right now there's global economic turmoil, especially when you add in China. So it is what it is for now, but I'm telling you, you give it a couple of years, and as long as we don't go to nuclear war, I guarantee you going to be back up, guaranteed. But who else? Nvidia, yeah, they're down 413. They'll be back because this AI stuff. Like, I was watching a video a little while ago, and they were showing, like, there's a robot that they got inside one of these Amazon buildings, and the robot walks like a man and picks up boxes and all this shit. And I'm like, yo, listen, AMD, NVIDIA, TSM, Micron, all of them, because of this AI stuff and because of these semiconductors, all of them are going to blow up. The problem is, right now, we've got this global economic turmoil where it looks like it's going to be World War III. So assuming there's no nuclear war, we should all be laughing about how we got in before these things really started to rise. Because you guaranteed AI is pushing these stocks. But you also have to understand, right now, people are so cash strapped, they're not buying computers like they used to. They're not buying them as much as they used to. Apple is down, for example. Apple said that they ship like 30% less MacBooks or something. And it's easy to understand why. If you take a look at anything consumer related, anything that requires you to take out debt to buy it, all of that shit's down. Listen, it's a sale. It's a sale. The banks are down. The credit cards are down. Visa, MasterCard, everything's down. That's a sale. But see, I got in back during the first bailout and then during 2020. That's when I was on YouTube making all them damn videos. Everybody's sitting at home, scared and shit, holding their children, fearing for life. I'm sitting back making videos about what you should be buying. I'm talking about buying fucking oil stocks. Everybody's sitting back with their children. Oh, COVID's going to get us. I'm out there driving around at 90 miles an hour in traffic. And there's no traffic because it was like COVID. Everybody's home. I was having the time of my fucking life. And now, with COVID over, now there's all this goddamn traffic. I can't drive around at 100 miles an hour now. But even back then, there were like no troopers on the road because they had the blue flu and they were calling out sick. I was like, fuck that. I'm out here I'm up here chilling. And everybody's at home scared and shit. But anyway, what I'm telling you, all of these wonderful red stocks right now, especially these ones that pay dividends, you should be getting in. Lucid is releasing their SUV soon. They're showing off this SUV. I think it's called the Gravity. You've got, I'm pretty sure some of you have seen those Rivian vans that they're pushing on Amazon. They're making Amazon drive Rivian vans. Entire states are literally saying, yeah, we're forcing the entire government, all the vehicles, to be electric vehicles. Y'all don't see it now. It'll be just like the oil stocks. Y'all don't see it now. But because of these government mandates, these things are going to pop. And when it does, then you'll be like, oh, man, I wish I had put money in that instead of Dogecoin. I wish I had put money in that instead of Shiba Inu, man. I thought we were going to the moon. We didn't even get to Jupiter. But, you know, hey, listen, it is what it is. Walmart is also definitely worth buying because for the most part, people all over the damn country are shopping at Walmart. Their stock is down right now. But why is their stock down? It's because the consumer's debt strapped, cash strapped, credit strapped. Their credit cards are maxed the fuck out. So Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, all of them are down right now. Now, when you talk about what's up, oil stocks, for the most part, are still up. Even though they may be down a couple of cents, oil stocks are still up. As you're seeing it at the pump, gas is like, what, $3.50? They said that for some reason there's been a disconnect between oil stocks and gas prices. Now, I personally believe that's because of government manipulation. As you know, during the last election, Biden basically made it so that the strategic petroleum oil reserve was basically emptied out. And you did that in order to refine enough gas to keep voters from being pissed off when they went to the polls to vote. Now, me personally, they should have made that shit illegal because that's nothing more than bribery. But when you're in a country where you have a president telling you about how he's going to pay your student loans off, I mean, that's bribery in and of itself. So, I guess they're not too worried about, the actual rule of law. So, that's who you're dealing with. But then again, you can just look and see what they do every day, and you can tell they don't give a fuck about the law. I don't even think half of them know it. So anyway, oil stocks are still popping. I would not buy oil stocks right now. I don't think they're going to go much higher in most cases. And the reason why is because they're already at their highs. You got to remember, in 2020, these things went negative. That's when I loaded up on oil. I spent so much money loading up on oil. And when I cashed out, I had more than enough money sitting back to wait for my electric Cadillac, which I originally thought was going to be a Jeep Trackhawk, but then I got bored with that. So I was like, nah, I'm going to just sit back and wait for this electric Cadillac. I had no idea it was going to take this long. But within the next 3 weeks, you're going to see me driving my electric Cadillac, and that's word is born. Who else? The banks, Wells Fargo, Capital One, Citigroup, JP Morgan, all of them are basically doing their thing. They're banks. They're not going nowhere. Your money's in them, one or the other. And if your money's not in one of those, your money's probably in another bank that this bank owns. JP Morgan probably owns your bank, one or the other. Wells Fargo, Bank of America. Chances are your money's wrapped up in them. If it's not, it's your mortgage. If it's not that, it's your car loan. Something, they got something. They got you. I don't know how they got you. I'll probably never know how they got you, but they got you. So I don't know. But anyway, oil stocks and gas stocks, I love holding them because of the dividends. So I'm not selling any of that anytime soon. I'm trying not to sell anything. As far as I'm saying to y'all need to make sure that by the time y'all get ready to retire, y'all need to make sure that you have a portfolio that's at least $100,000 worth of dividend paying stocks. Now that's not easy because you're talking about 10 to 20 years worth of investment. For some people, it's easier than others because some people don't have as much to pay for per month. But you want to have a nice fat $5,000 or $10,000 return just based on dividends every single year. When you look at these super rich people, most of these super rich people, these people are driving around in fucking shit cars like Honda Accords, Toyota Camrys, Nissan Altimas, and Maximas. And they're sitting back collecting massive amounts of dividends, just like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett doesn't buy new cars. That guy could be driving around in a solid gold Escalade. No, what he does is he buys used Cadillacs. And that's just weird to me because the guy has more money than God and he buys used Cadillacs. That's just crazy. He could be driving around in a solid gold Hummer, but he doesn't do that. He buys used Cadillacs. That doesn't even make sense, does it? No, it doesn't. If you're Warren Buffett, however, it makes sense, strangely enough. But that said, you want to make sure that you are working towards your retirement and saving money in dividend-paying stock because chances are the returns on two things. Number one, dividend-paying stock and the returns on real estate are going to be much, much higher than any tax-deferred annuity that you can possibly pay into. Most of the people who I know who pay into tax-deferred annuities, they end up trying to take some of that money out because usually the penalties are so high that they really have no choice and they still have to take some of that money out because they have to, pay themselves back for all that money that they used to put into that TDA. They got to usually, their problem is when they invest in that TDA, it doesn't produce anything right away. You have to wait until you retire to actually be able to take the money out without being penalized. With dividend paying stock, when you're investing in dividend paying stock, you're getting a return every single year. Now, it's not a huge amount of money unless you have a very large portfolio, but you are getting a return. You're getting income from dividends, which are taxed at a lower rate than income tax. You're getting capital gains tax, which is much lower in rate than income tax. But these people who are just tucking money away in TDAs, a lot of them end up having to dip into it and then they end up regretting it. Because when you take that money out, the government treats that as income. So they end up taxing you on your own money that you put away for when you retire. And they penalize you for it. When you get those dividend paying stocks, there's no penalty. You know what? You got to understand the game. It's the game that I'm giving away here. I'm giving away games. See, some of these fake-ass gurus on YouTube, these fake fucks that buy subscribers and shit and talk about eating booty and all that, these fake-ass gurus, these guys got to buy their subscribers. I ain't doing it. I'm not paying nobody. All that money can go into dividend-paying stock. I can't really think of too many other things. Visa and MasterCard are down right now. MasterCard was like $400 like at the beginning of like last week. And Visa, I think, was also a bit higher. The thing about it is, shares in those, if you got them when they were cheaper, I would just hold Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. If you were able to get them when they were cheaper, when I was telling you to do it back during the pandemic, well, then, you're up. Right now, they're really expensive to buy into. There's other opportunities out there, specifically with the energy sector. The military-industrial complex sector, like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Raytheon, and all them, they're doing great right now because, they got this Palestine versus Israel. So they're doing really wonderful right now because all they got to do is just go over there and sell weapons. Who is it? Yeah, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin. I think when Israel basically went into Palestine, their Palestinian land, Lockheed gained like $82 billion in market cap like that day. So the military-industrial complex is alive and well. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. Where do I keep Lockheed Martin? I think it's LM, right? Yeah, LMT. Yeah, they're doing pretty good. Like, if you look at them this month, look at that shit. That's them this month. That's Lockheed Martin this month. They ain't fucking around. They're like, hey, yeah, y'all need weapons? Hey, we got F-35s. We got F-35s on sale. Anybody want an F-35? Nobody wants a goddamn F-35. That piece of shit doesn't have a built-in gun. It doesn't have a built-in toilet for the pilot. And then on top of that, these fucking things keep crashing and disappearing. You got the jet disappear off the goddamn radar and they looking for it. Hey, public, hi, has anybody seen an F-35 just disappear? If you happen to see one, let us know and there's a reward. It's like, how the fuck you got jets disappearing? Really? Is that what we've come to? It's a damn shame, man. It's a damn shame. But, hey, the military-industrial complex, it's always out there, man. They're looking to sell weapons to somebody. I was watching, you're watching the news, you watch these Palestine versus Israelis and whatnot. Notice the guns that they have. Notice all the guns are ours. Notice who's got the jets and the tanks. All that shit is ours. What does that tell you? That tells you the military-industrial complex, all they exist for is to sell weapons to somebody. If y'all need F-35s, come right to us. We got F-35s at half off. No, they're not half off. You're going to pay full fucking price for them. We got F-35s for sale. And that's what it is. It's kind of like when people want to know where their tax dollars going, all you got to do is just look for the corporate names. Walk into your kid's classroom. Look around. Look for the corporate names. Sony, Epson, Apple, Microsoft. Look for the corporate names. When you walk into a police precinct, look for the corporate names. They're there. Military contractors. Watch the news. Look for the corporate names. That's where your money's going. It's so simple. It's so simple. But my bottom line is, how do you get wealthy? How do you have income being generated? Now me, I just take YouTube money and I throw it into stock. It's easy. Any extra money I get, I just throw it into stock, specifically dividend-paying stock. The automotive companies, the gas companies, the banks, those are the people who I've been chasing after. And the reality is I've seen the payoff, and hopefully you do too. So that's what you should be doing. Right now with your money, that's what you should be doing.
Well, good afternoon, good morning, people. My name is Marcel Gorbetz, and
Galata Graham.
We're seeking a younger person from the age of 19 to 26, and you are seeking?
The same.
So, when we're looking for someone, we want someone to be there for us. It don't have to be financially because, we're an older person. We have our own cars, our own homes. We're just looking for a lover.
Yes.
If you're interested, please reach out to us, make a comment, make a like.
As soon as possible.
Yes. Have a wonderful day. I hope to see you guys soon.
Blessings.
To be continued.